Stephen Colbert fired. But that's not the real shocker. What Trump just revealed about Epstein will leave you speechless. This isn't a conspiracy, it's unfolding right now. You won't believe who else is involved. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. Stephen Colbert fired. That's exactly what headlines screamed across the internet just days ago. The beloved late-night icon, known for his razor-sharp wit, unapologetic political satire, and relentless takedowns of powerful figures, was suddenly gone in a farewell episode. No warning from the network. No heartfelt monologue behind a desk. Just silence. The shockwave across America for millions of Americans. Stephen Colbert wasn't just another late-night host. He was the voice that dared to say what others wouldn't. Whether he was mocking hypocrisy, exposing corruption, or calling out Donald Trump with surgical precision, Colbert became a nightly ritual for progressives, skeptics, and everyday people looking for truth wrapped in comedy. But when CBS abruptly pulled the plug without explanation, viewers were left reeling. Social media exploded. What happened to Colbert? Did he get canceled or silenced? Something's not right here, because everyone could feel it. This wasn't just the end of a show. This felt like a message. Behind the curtain, a power play unfolds. Insiders quickly began leaking fragments of a darker story. According to whispers from CBS employees and anonymous producers, Colbert had been working on something big, something dangerous. Just weeks before the cancellation, Colbert had reportedly greenlit a new investigative segment that would tackle the unspoken connections between high-profile elites and the decades-long Jeffrey Epstein scandal, an explosive, radioactive topic that had already taken down billionaires, princes, and politicians. One name, allegedly, kept popping up in those notes: Donald J. Trump. While Trump's name has been associated with Epstein in the past, many media outlets have treaded lightly, fearful of lawsuits, backlash, or political consequences. But Colbert, he wasn't afraid. Not then. Not ever. Sources claim the segment would have aired within a month. It would have featured exclusive interviews, documents, and connections never before revealed on network television. And then, poof, the show was gone. No segment. No Colbert. No answers. The Trump-Epstein-Colbert triangle. To understand how this all fits together, you have to rewind. Trump and Epstein were once photographed together at parties in the 1990s and early 2000s, while Trump has since distanced himself from Epstein and denied any wrongdoing. Epstein's web of connections spans both political parties, business tycoons, and Hollywood elites. According to those familiar with the now-canceled segment, Colbert had obtained footage and witness accounts that painted a damning timeline. One that not only linked Trump more directly to Epstein, but also questioned why certain people were never investigated thoroughly. It wasn't just a scandal. It was a cover-up, and Colbert, a man who made a career out of lifting the curtain, was ready to air it. Until someone pulled the plug, media silence and muffled outrage. What followed was even more chilling. No major network covered the firing. No late-night host addressed it. No tribute. No outrage. No farewell. In a world where cancel culture often dominates headlines, the disappearance of a prominent host without cause or clarity is almost unheard of. Why the silence? Some say the pressure came from powerful people, possibly even within CBS, who feared retaliation, lawsuits, or worse if Colbert went ahead. Others suggest the network had been quietly leaning away from political commentary for months, aiming for more neutral, advertiser-friendly programming. But fans know the truth feels much heavier. Colbert wasn't canceled. He was shut down. The final twist, and what comes next. Here's the twist. Colbert may be down, but he's not out. According to sources close to the comedian, he's already in talks to start an independent platform, one where corporate interests won't dictate content, and where he can tell the real stories. Stories about Epstein. Stories about Trump. Stories they tried to bury. It's not the end. It's just the beginning of a new chapter. And if history has shown us anything, it's this. You can silence the man, but you can't silence the truth. Stay tuned. The story isn't over. Stephen Colbert wasn't just a host. He was a cultural force. Stephen Colbert wasn't just another late-night guy in a tailored suit cracking jokes behind a polished desk. He was a truth teller, a provocateur, a cultural voice who dared to say what millions were thinking, but didn't have the platform to shout. Whether he was tearing into presidential blunders, calling out political cowards, or side-eyeing corporate greed, Colbert built a reputation on being fearless. And during the Trump presidency, he became something more than a comedian. He became a nightly beacon for those who felt unheard, angry, or just plain fed up with the lies, from viral monologues that racked up millions of views overnight to headline-grabbing interviews that made news themselves. Colbert made it his mission to expose hypocrisy with a smirk and a mic. He wasn't there to play nice. He was there to pull back the curtain. But as his satire cut deeper, so did the targets he was hitting. When the jokes got too real at first, Colbert's brand of comedy was sharp but safe. He poked fun at politicians, mocked policies, and kept things within the lines. But in recent years, something shifted. Behind the laughter, there was an edge, an urgency. Colbert began to go darker, more direct, less punchline, more warning that he started hinting at uncomfortable truths lurking just beneath the surface of politics and power. He alluded to the elite, not as a punchline, but as a problem. He talked about cover-ups, scandals, and secrets that never made it to trial. And again, one name kept surfacing: Jeffrey Epstein. Colbert joked about Epstein's island. He made passing remarks about certain guests who had flown on private planes. At first, it was subtle, just a wink to the informed audience. But over time, the jokes got bolder, more direct. And according to some insiders, they weren't just jokes. Whispers behind the stage, people close to the production, say that in recent months, Colbert had taken a special interest in Epstein, not just as a punchline, but as a serious story. He'd reportedly tasked his writing team with researching the lesser-known details: flight logs, sealed testimonies, obscure connections. He was asking questions like, why were so many names never released? Why were certain celebrities and political figures off-limits in the mainstream coverage? And most chilling of all, who was protecting them? Sources say Colbert even brought in private researchers to vet tips, some of which pointed to alarming patterns: powerful men with political influence, financial clout, and ties that stretched into media empires. And that's when things started to get strange. Tension at CBS, and a sudden silence not long after these investigations began. Tension at CBS reportedly began to build. Executives grew nervous. Meetings were held. Legal teams were consulted. Some staffers described a change in the atmosphere: less creative freedom, more corporate oversight. Segments were cut. Scripts were reworded. And topics involving Epstein or elite misconduct were increasingly flagged as not suitable for broadcast. But Colbert, ever defiant, didn't back down. He kept pushing, teasing, dropping hints live on air. And then, just as he was reportedly preparing a major expose segment connecting Epstein's network to a few still untouched names, Colbert disappeared from The Late Show without a word. No goodbye. No explanation. Just gone. Was he getting too close? Many fans dismissed his absence at first as a health break or contractual issue. But when weeks turned into silence and no official statement was made, speculation exploded. Why would a network axe one of their biggest stars without so much as a farewell episode? Why wouldn't Colbert, a man known for standing his ground, speak out himself? The theories flooded in. Was it pressure from above? Was there a legal threat? Did Colbert uncover something they didn't want the world to hear? One former staffer put it plainly: he was getting too close to something, and someone made sure he didn't get any closer. A voice silenced. Or just getting started. Right now, the official story is, there is no story. Colbert is off the air. The network is quiet. The media isn't asking questions, but the internet isn't. Thousands of fans are digging, watching old clips, reposting quotes, searching for the breadcrumb trail he may have left behind. Because Colbert may be gone from the screen, but his message lingers. The truth is, this wasn't just about comedy. This wasn't even about politics. This was about power and what happens when someone dares to challenge it. And while the show may be over, the questions remain. What was Colbert about to expose? And who made sure the cameras stopped rolling before he could? One thing is clear. This story is far from finished. Let's rewind. Everyone knows the infamous connection between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. The headlines, the photos, the parties. There's that now famous 1992 video, Trump and Epstein laughing together at a Mar-a-Lago party, surrounded by cheerleaders. And then, After Epstein's arrest and mysterious death in 2019, the denials rolled in. Trump said he wasn't a fan of Epstein and hadn't spoken to him in years. The public moved on. But beneath the headlines and surface-level outrage, a deeper story was quietly unfolding. One most people never heard about, because after Epstein's death, sealed files from his private estate, handwritten notes, personal calendars, correspondence, and hard drives were discreetly handed over to authorities. Some were made public, most were not. And according to anonymous sources with ties to media watchdogs and legal insiders, some of that sealed evidence didn't just confirm what we already knew. It blew the lid off Epstein's inner circle that IT included high-level communications, emails, phone records, memos, and names of former presidents, names of media executives, and yes, even talk show hosts. The Colbert connection, that's where Stephen Colbert comes back in. As rumors about these sealed Epstein files began to circulate in late 2023, several investigative journalists and media insiders started chasing the story, quietly, carefully. Colbert's team was among them. According to two former staffers from The Late Show, Colbert had caught wind of the files through an off-the-record conversation with a former prosecutor. What started as a joke between staff quickly became serious. Within days, Colbert had assigned a small, off-air research team to begin gathering everything they could. And it wasn't just a casual project that IT was turning into a segment, one that promised to be career-defining or career-ending. Then came the leaked email. The leaked email sent between Colbert's executive producer and a former 60 Minutes contributor. The email outlined a bombshell segment that had been tentatively scheduled for a Thursday night. It included never-before-seen photographs of Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein together at events beyond what had been publicly released. These were said to show more intimate gatherings, ones that had no media coverage, no press presence, and very few witnesses that a guest with direct knowledge of Epstein's final days in jail. This person, rumored to be a former correctional officer or contractor with access to surveillance data, was prepared to speak on record that a deeper dive into media complicity. Documents were said to link executives from major news networks, allegedly, including top figures at CBS, NBC, and CNN, to attempts at suppressing certain victim testimonies, silencing journalists, and buying time through legal tactics. The segment, if aired, would have been one of the most explosive exposés in late-night television history, but it never saw the light of day. The shutdown just 2 days before the segment was slated to air, Colbert was reportedly pulled into an emergency meeting with CBS executives. What was discussed remains unknown, but several insiders say he left the building looking visibly shaken. The following day, The Late Show announced an unexpected hiatus. Staff were told to stand by for updates. Scripts were frozen. Production was halted. Then, without warning, CBS scrubbed Colbert's name from upcoming lineups. No goodbye, no press release, just silence. The internet filled the vacuum with speculation. Was it a contract dispute, a health emergency, or something far more sinister? The official statement never came. What they didn't want you to see since Colbert's abrupt departure, pieces of the puzzle have begun to leak. Independent journalists and internet sleuths have connected dots that mainstream outlets refused to touch. One post, now deleted, claimed to show metadata of a rehearsal video, timestamped and labeled Epstein Draft 1. Another leak showed a list of restricted content reportedly circulated to CBS lawyers. Epstein's name was at the top. There's no hard proof yet. No video. No final script. But there's one undeniable fact. The moment Colbert stepped too close to the truth, he vanished from the airwaves. Whether it was pressure from powerful allies of those named in the files or a desperate move by the network to protect itself, we may never know. What we do know is this: a segment was planned. It was ready, and someone made sure the world never saw it. Now, all that remains are whispers, deleted files, and a simple, chilling timeline. Segment ready. 2 days pass. Colbert is gone. Coincidence? Or cover-up? The world deserves answers. And this story is far from over. CBS released a statement. But the truth was in the silence. When Stephen Colbert vanished from the airwaves, fans demanded answers. The public wanted clarity. The industry buzzed with speculation. And CBS? They gave the world a carefully worded line of corporate doublespeak. We are restructuring our late-night lineup to explore new creative directions. On paper, it sounded like a routine programming shift, a network choosing to evolve. Maybe it was just ratings, maybe a creative pause, but anyone paying attention knew better. This wasn't evolution. It was execution. Colbert wasn't just removed, he was erased. No tribute, no goodbye, no final bow. And for a host with Colbert's stature, legacy, and influence, that level of silence felt less like strategy and more like damage control. And as it turns out, the real story, the one CBS isn't telling, goes far beyond entertainment. The insider leak, pressure from the top according to a former staffer who worked closely on Colbert's research and production team. The decision to cut The Late Show was anything but voluntary. The insider, speaking on condition of anonymity, described a chaotic final week, one filled with meetings, red flags, and an unsettling shift in tone from the higher-ups. They told us we were going on break. But we knew something was wrong. It wasn't just CBS. The pressure came from outside. Political figures, lawyers, people with real power. And one name, the insider said, kept popping up behind closed doors: Donald Trump. While Trump himself never issued a public statement on Colbert's disappearance, his allies were far less subtle. The online hints and thinly veiled warnings within. Hours of Colbert being pulled, Trump-aligned commentators and influencers began posting cryptic messages online. Colbert finally got what was coming to him. The Epstein bomb is going to blow up Hollywood. One down. More to go. Some tweets were quickly deleted. Others were buried beneath unrelated noise. But the messaging was clear. Something was coming, and Colbert had gotten too close. And here's the chilling part. All of this happened just days after Colbert was allegedly preparing to air a segment, revealing new links between Epstein, Trump, and media figures accused of suppressing victim stories. Was it about the segment, or the silence that followed? Sources close to the situation claimed that Colbert's team had assembled a devastating exposé. As previously leaked, the segment was set to feature unseen photographs of Epstein and Trump at private events. A whistleblower who had worked inside the jail where Epstein died, internal memos suggesting that executives at multiple networks, including CBS, had been warned against giving airtime to Epstein-related investigations. It was more than just risky television. It was a declaration of war against the very people who control the flow of information. And just like that, Colbert was gone. No episode aired. No press tour followed. No streaming release. The plug wasn't just pulled. The whole outlet was dismantled. The silence speaks volumes, while CBS tries to play it safe with phrases like creative redirection. Their actions tell another story. Production staff were let go abruptly. Pre-recorded segments were deleted from internal servers. Legal teams issued non-disclosure reminders within 48 hours of the cancellation. In other words, they wiped the slate clean. But why? Was it because the network feared lawsuits? Or was it because they were threatened with something worse, exposure, maybe even political retaliation? The insider who spoke to media watchdogs believes the answer is simple. Stephen didn't just cross a line. He was dragging a spotlight toward the people hiding behind it. And they couldn't let that happen. Was he caught in the blast? Or was he the target? The Epstein scandal has long been a landmine of secrets. It's already taken down billionaires, royals, and power brokers. But the full list of names, connections, and complicity has never been exposed. Many believe that if those sealed files ever came to light, they wouldn't just damage reputations. They'd rewrite the narrative of who really runs the media, politics, and justice system in America. If Colbert was getting ready to open that door, then removing him may have been less about television and more about containment. Because sometimes, in the world of powerful secrets, telling the truth isn't just dangerous, it's unforgivable. Final question. So, what really happened to Stephen Colbert? Was he simply a casualty of shifting network priorities? Or was he silenced by forces much bigger than CBS, because he tried to show the world something they couldn't allow us to see? Either way, the message is clear. Speak truth to power, and power speaks back, louder. But even in silence, the truth echoes. And it's getting harder to ignore. So what now? Stephen Colbert, one of the most iconic voices in late-night television, is gone. Not gone in the way celebrities announce their retirement with teary-eyed speeches and studio send-offs. Gone as in vanished. No Instagram posts. No tweet. No final monologue. Just silence. For a man who made his career speaking truth to power. His sudden disappearance without a word has only fueled the fire. Fans are demanding answers. Journalists are quietly investigating. And on the internet, the conspiracy forums are blazing because this doesn't feel like a cancellation. It feels like a cover-up. A voice that dared to ask the forbidden Colbert wasn't just a comedian with a desk. He was a cultural force, a man who dared to question the untouchables. Politicians, corporations, media overlords. And just before his show went dark, he was preparing his boldest move yet, an expose on Jeffrey Epstein's sealed files, rumored to contain damning information about world leaders, media executives, and yes, Donald Trump. That segment never aired. But according to insiders, the footage still exists, and that may be the biggest reason why this story won't go away. What we know so far, let's connect the dots. Colbert's team had reportedly uncovered never-before-seen photographs of Trump and Epstein. At private gatherings not covered by press, a whistleblower with knowledge of Epstein's final days in jail was set to appear as a guest. Internal documents hinted at media executives suppressing victim stories to protect powerful names. The episode was planned, scheduled, ready to roll. 2 days later, Colbert was out. CBS issued a vague statement about restructuring. But sources behind the scenes say the call didn't come from the network alone. It came from outside, from lawyers, from political figures, from people who do not like cameras pointed in their direction. The name Trump reportedly came up multiple times in emergency meetings. Meanwhile, Trump allies online were already celebrating Colbert's takedown, calling it karma and cryptically hinting that Hollywood's secrets are about to blow. Was Colbert simply caught in that blast? Or was he targeted because he was about to reveal something that powerful people needed buried? The episode that could change everything. Here's the twist that's making this story go nuclear. Despite CBS pulling the plug, multiple insiders confirm that the unaired episode still exists. The full segment, the interview, the evidence. It's locked away, digitally watermarked, stored on a private network drive, and labeled sensitive material. Some say there are backup copies. Others claim Colbert took personal measures to protect the files in case something like this happened, because maybe he saw it coming. Maybe he knew that exposing this story could end more than his career. It could shake Hollywood, Washington, and the media industry to their core. And if that footage ever leaks, if the world gets to see what Colbert was about to show, this story won't just be big. It will be historic, bigger than Watergate, bigger than the Pentagon Papers. A moment where truth finally catches up to power. On camera, what are they hiding? The Epstein case is not closed. There are still unanswered questions about his finances, his death, and, most importantly, his clients. Who was on those planes? Who visited the island? Who helped cover it all up? These aren't just tabloid questions. They're national security questions, and Colbert, of all people, had the reach, the resources, and the guts to go there. Now, that voice has been muted. But the files? They're still out there. What happens next? So what now? Do we just forget it? Do we pretend Colbert just moved on? Or do we demand the truth? Because this story, your story, doesn't end here. In fact, it may only just be beginning. The footage exists. The evidence exists. And eventually, someone is going to leak it. When that day comes, everything will change. Until then, ask the hard questions. Don't trust silence. And stay tuned, because we're not done yet. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you believe the truth deserves to be heard. And subscribe, because the next episode could change everything.